Okay, so this morning I went to the gas station and I noticed that the moon was plenty high in the sky. And I was like, dude, how could the moon be still high in the sky if the sun is coming up too? And then that made me think about daylight savings time. And I was like, daylight savings time, that just seems like a crock, you know? Because, like, they say you get an extra hour of daylight, but if you were to wake up at the exact moment the sun came out and hit start on your timer, in exactly 12 hours, the moon or the sun would go down and the moon would start coming up. And then if you went further and let it run for another 12 hours, the sun would be down, the moon would be down and the sun would come up. And so you're not getting an extra hour of daylight, because it's not like all of a sudden this part of the year you get 13 hours of daylight and 11 hours of night, and then fall back, you get 11 hours a day and 13 hours a night. You get 24 hours, 12 day, 12 night. No matter what's going on, 12 day, 12 night. So, and honestly, think about this. What difference does it make if you're going to work at 12:30 in the morning or 12:30 at night? You're going to work. You're going to go to a place that you don't want to be. And you're going to be there for 8 hours. It doesn't really matter if it's 8 hours a day, 8 hours a night, or 4 hours a day and 4 hours a night. You're still there for 8 hours working for stuff that you technically should be getting for free. And now, with that said, that made me think, we pay so much for sewer and water. And now they're using these big AIs that are just burning up so much water. And I'm thinking, maybe those computers aren't even produced to make supercomputers. Maybe that's just the side note to keep people distracted from what's really going on, which is them trying to monetize water. Because if they use so much water and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there's a water shortage, they can double or triple the price of water. Or, make it whatever price they want. The powers that be, the people that are greedy and always want that money, that was their whole motivation right there, was to monetize water to the point where it becomes almost like, how you have to buy gas. Like, it doesn't matter what price they put on gas, you have to get it for your car, because otherwise, how are you going to get around? Unless you walk or ride a bike or something, but even those you got to pay for. And you got to pay tax whenever you buy them. You got to pay tax on your shoes when you buy those to go on your feet. So, it's just a way for them to monetize the water under the guise that they have to use it in order to properly run the supercomputers and the AIs that everybody needs for their life. Like, you don't need that. Not one bit. AI didn't always exist. It's not a thing that was always around. Well, maybe it was, and we just now figured out how to tap into it. But what I'm saying is, when I was born in 1984, in 1994, I didn't have AI. I didn't have any of that stuff. The whole time I was growing up as a kid, the whole time I was growing up as a teen, I didn't have any of that stuff. And I made it just fine. And I'm a fairly knowledgeable person. But also, they taught you stuff in school when I was in school that actually meant something, and not this garbledy garbage that they teach nowadays. But anyway, so we don't need that AI at all. We can figure it out, or we can ask somebody that knows, and then once we know, we can pass it on, and so on and so forth. Just like tales from back in the day, and stories and myths and everything from back in the day, how they lasted from the 1600s all the way till today, and they're making movies about it because people wrote it down, they recorded it, and word of mouth. Like, I never needed AI to do any of my school paperwork. I did that all on my own. And I used these things called encyclopedias and thesauruses for you young kids, which were books that do what a computer does, but you had to use them alphabetically. So whatever you wanted to know, so like, plant photosynthesis, you went to the P and you found that section of the encyclopedia, and then you read about it and you got knowledgeable about it. And everybody had them at one point, because eventually you could start finding them at garage sales and stuff, because people got tired of having them. And so everybody had access to them, even, and they had them at schools too, so you could, get them from the school library. But anyway, so we don't even need the supercomputers. They're just doing that, just like their tactic that they always do. Look over here so we can actually do what's going on over here. So they're like, oh, we're giving you this super awesome invention, this supercomputer. It can compute, like the new one in China. It can compute 29 quintillion problems at one time. Like, when in your life did you have 29 quintillion problems that needed to be freaking thought, mastered and figured out by an AI system? Like, no, man. If anything, you go to your Google and you're like, hey, how do I fix this one specific individual thing? Or, hey, how do I handle this situation verbally? Like, you're not like, okay, so we got to sit down, AI, and I got to tell you my 29 quintillion problems that I need you to solve in less than a second. Because if you solve them in less than a second, I'll magically be able to remember every single one of those solutions. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's pointless to be able to, calculate that much problems at one time. Maybe an AI that can do like 5 problems or 10 problems at max, because some people do have a lot going on in their lives. But nobody has 29 quintillion problems going on in their life. So, yeah, the supercomputer is just a way for them to burn up water and keep it covered up so that eventually they can charge us $10 for a bottle of water, $10 for a gallon of water. Hey, there's my dad. He's mowing. That's weird. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later.